Hello, everybody. Welcome into my channel, Midstream Feelings, and we have a very special guest, Rio Karuk, Patrick.
Hey.
He's a real person.
Right? I'm not a spirit guide on the other side of the veil. Like, I'm physical incarnate, just like everybody else watching this. Or most people watching this, because I don't know if they watching from the other side. Hi, guys, on the other side. I'm here. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
If you guys haven't checked out Rio Karuk, Patrick's channel, please go check it out. I'll link it as well in the description box below, so it'll be easily, you can be guided to his channel, subscribe. Really amazing stuff. He goes live almost, you go live almost like every day. You also do zodiac signs too. You do zodiac readings. So really great stuff. It's really amazing. If you guys can please check him out, subscribe. So he's been helping me with the gates, and you kind of just take things to another dimension because you're so much like in your like you're just a mind witch. You're the eye witch. There's so much that you channel from like a really bigger perspective. So I always go to Patrick with all my channelings, and he helps me to like sift them and put them in a nice package. So you've been doing that since like I basically started. So it only felt very fitting to bring him on here for Gate 7, because Gate 7 is really talking about change warriors, becoming change champions that we've been talking about in the previous mandala reading, and we've also been talking about in the collective readings. So 2 readings in a row were just all about this energy. And actually I had no idea that we were coming up to God Zababa, and he is the god of war and protection. And his consort, well, it's not very clear who his consorts are. It's like goddess Inanna Ishtar, who is also goddess of love and war. But he also had they thought his other consort is goddess Baba, who over time is known as goddess Gula. And goddess Gula is a powerful healer. She is a divine physician. So we'll get into her in just a little bit. But this Gate 7, again, like it's so fitting to bring Patrick here, because I feel like what we're all going through in the collective is this strength in numbers energy. Like we're stronger together, and it just feels so right. It just feels so right. So God Zababa is a warrior god. He is god of war and protection. So the animal that symbolizes him is actually the lion, which we also had in that collective reading, which is all about strength and power. No coincidence. We're in Leo season, the lion leading up to the Lion's Gate 8-8 portal. He also holds an eagle-headed staff. So this kind of tripped me out, because in that collective reading, we had the eagle medicine with the staff. So I thought that was really like, that's too synchronistic right there. He's also associated with the planet Mars, and we already did the Gate 1 with goddess Inanna Ishtar, but her energy is coming through again from a love and war perspective. So we'll get into her energy too in this gate. And then goddess Baba, also known as goddess Gula, she's a protective guardian spirit. She was later known as goddess Gula over the course of time, over the course of history. And she has many names. She's known as a great leader, the great healer, of the land. She is a herb grower, the lady who makes the broken up whole again. She creates a life in the land. And it was actually known that after the Great Flood, she helped to breathe life back into mankind. And it's interesting that when I read that, we're experiencing multiple floods right now all over the world simultaneously. So the fact that I read this in this time was just, again, too synchronistic. So she is again known as a divine physician. She had a prominent role in incantations and rituals intended to relieve those suffering from diseases. She is also holy and fearsome. We're also going to talk about this distinction about holy and fearsome. So she is holy in the sense where she does this holy healing, where she helps heal diseases and she helps heal the land, but she's also fearsome. There's a fearsome side to her because she uses herbs poisonous herbs for those who trample upon the rights of others. So there's a fearsome side to her. And I love that she's this like herbal healer, because in the community post I just recently posted, I talked about the gladiolus flower, which means which is gladiator in in the Roman gladiators, and it's also called the sword lily. And this is about strength and integrity. The gladiators wore them around their neck for protection and luck in battle. It's a herb for healing, but it's also a very poisonous herb. So I was like, wow, this is just too synchronistic. So it's just really synchronicities all over the place. And when I was talking to you, Patrick, about this, you mentioned that because everyone right now is going through shadow storms. We talked about shadow storms in gate 5 with goddess Aya. A lot of things are coming up for everybody right now. A lot of things are coming up for everybody to heal, to look at, to remove, to release, to let go, right? This card was actually hiding in the mystical shaman, time to let go, from the previous, from yesterday's mandala reading. So a lot of us are in this energy of releasing, right? But in this energy of releasing comes resistance. And I was very resistant yesterday. And a lot of people are going through this resistance energy. So it feels like, and you mentioned this, and it's so beautiful how you said it, because it's exactly like, again, perfect timing. Goddess Gula is here helping us to heal, helping us to let go, helping us to free the inner warrior that is within all of us. So I absolutely love that. And it really resonates with me, as I'm sure with all of you, and we'll unfold this energy more as we go along. So I feel like we're experiencing the holy and fearsome side of us, because we see, how gods are holy and fearsome, how the earth is holy and fearsome, but we are also holy and fearsome. And this inner warrior that is rising up within all of you, I feel like we are in this energy right now of understanding what holy and what being fearsome is. Like, for example, and we were talking a little bit before this, before we hit record, we were like channeling before and like going off, and we're like, did you record that? No, not right. We want to say this all before like it gets lost, before we channel and forget everything. That when we stand up for ourselves, that's us being fearsome. We're standing up. We're like, we take no shit, right? And we come across as that fearsome energy, but in return, we're being holy to ourselves. We're being kind to ourselves. We're putting those boundaries for ourselves. We're teaching other people how to approach us. We're teaching other people by being examples of how to stand in our personal power and our personal strength. So yes, when we stand our ground and we say no to someone, or we give them, the finger, we say F off, or, we say with love, we punch them with love. Please don't punch anyone. I'm just saying, like, gently, maybe just like, but, we're being fearsome in a sense of that we're standing up for ourselves, but in return, we're being holy to ourselves. And this reminds me, like the sword lily, the gladiolus, also reminds me of the Ace of Swords. And every time I looked at a picture of the gladiolus, it had multiple gladioluses all around it. It just seems like it just doesn't grow alone. It doesn't grow. It doesn't grow with like, just a few here or there. There's like bunches of gladiolus all gathered together. So that's why the strength of numbers is coming through. But there's a great sense of individuality as well. And when I was feeling like this Ace of Swords frequency, I felt like right now, the times around the world, the times astrologically, cosmically, everything is so hectic. But in that hectic and in that chaos, it feels like the voice of truth is alive. And no matter what occurs outside of you, no matter how many things are shifting and changing, or how society conforms or wants you to conform or wants you to bend to their rules or bend to what they believe in or what they have faith in. Your voice of truth is constant. Your voice of truth remains the same. And I think that's where this strength and this integrity, this true strength and integrity is also rising up and also freeing within yourself. So there's a real emphasis on a voice of truth that is alive and is constant in the state of chaos right now in the world. So that's what I have right now. I don't know if you want to say anything, Patrick, before we pull some cards, but please feel free.
Yeah. And so I think, like, as we were talking about earlier, when we were approaching the conclusion of being both fearsome and holy at the same time, it was this energy of, like, you know, like learning to be holy and then learning to be fearsome before we can be holy and fearsome. And it reminds me of a lot of medicine. Like you said, with Goddess Gula, and even with the gladiolus, it's like if you have too much of it, it can be toxic. But in just the right amount, it's medicinal, it's healing, it can cure. And I think that's a lot of the balance that we're also coming into. And that's something that, you know, me, you, and Corey the other night, and I referenced it last night. It's like if you've been on one end of the spectrum, like if you've been overly aggressive or outspoken, then you may be learning to sort of listen and to sit back and to process things before you respond to them. But if you've been in like a passive, very silent, like not really standing up for yourself role, then you may be coming into the fearsome, like these are my boundaries and you're not going to disrespect me energy. And then like we're bringing them into balance so we can be both.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing. And then I pulled some cards because you said that the eagle medicine and the lion for God Zababa. So I went looking through the decks. I combined the Wild Unknown, Oracles, and Tarot. Animal Spirits and Tarot. Yeah.
Yes,
and
get on this.
I was like, I gotta combine them. Like, I'm here with Reed. Like, and around the eagle spirit came out the Hanged Man and the Father of Cups. And I feel like this is the energy where Goddess Gula sort of comes in. Like, it feels like the Hangman is in the shadow storm. And there are all these things that it kind of sort of keeps outside of itself, all of this power that it doesn't accept because of the fear of how its life might change, because it may already feel kind of sort of outside. And it's like, well, if I let it in, then I'll be like even more outside. But with this eagle medicine, like through that healing and through, it's almost purpose. Like that's what I was talking with Rob about a few days ago. It was this energy of, you know, like, well, what does it mean to have power and to not use it? Like, how would that manifest? And he said, it may be like a lack of purpose. And I was like, well, what is purpose without power? Or what is power without a purpose? And he said, well, that can manifest burdens. And so we have all these burdens, we have all of this resistance because it's like you not taking on your power, you not being all of who you are doesn't make you any less. It doesn't make you any less powerful. It doesn't make you any less you. That voice of truth within you that is constant and unchanging, it's still there, regardless of how much extra resistance you sort of allow because you're not doing whatever. But when we take it on and when we allow ourselves to step towards that purpose, that's when we can sort of heal this. Oh, look, and then the water energy. Yeah. I love that. And we take it on and we own it. And I know, like, when I was telling you about when we drank the gas water.
Yeah.
And like it did nothing for like hours. And then you're like, hold up, it's hitting me. I gotta go meditate.
Yeah.
And I saw that the thing in the shadows, and then I was in that shadow realm with the water, and the shadows came out, and then the light came out. It's this energy of like, that's when I saw an aspect of myself in like this shadowy vortex, in that shadow storm. And in my own life, because I'm continuing down my path, and because I also want to be someone like one of these change champions who are doing their part to do stuff, the aspect of me that holds the power that is my key to my part in this it was in that shadow storm. And as it got closer and closer, the internal resistance within me was just like off the charts. And it was like, I was like, I don't know if this is like ancestral trauma. I don't know if this is past life trauma from being in a place of power. I don't know if this is going back to gate 4 with Goddess Ningal when she was talking about how they were burned and persecuted and the knowledge was lost in the past. I was like feeling all of it. And I had Russ and Corey and you and everybody else to, first of all, like with that strength in numbers energy, to be in a community with people who are also powerful and who are also sort of coming into their own, I feel like it's really assuring. Because I think sometimes for me, I think my energy can be a little big and it can kind of sort of shake things a little bit. And so there was a fear like, well, if I get too close, then their life might start to like shake apart or something. But like, I don't know, just like being in a community with such powerful people who are like doing it, I was like, oh, like I don't have anything to worry about. So I was able to drop those resistances and to allow that piece of me in. Now there are still other things that come up, and right now, like for example, I'm learning to be more certain in what I say. So not always saying like maybe or like take it as it resonates or like I don't know, and like throwing my hands up.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you're always gonna take it as it resonates. So I don't have to say that as a way to take away from what the message is. I don't have to introduce uncertainty in an area where there isn't any, because that's part of the strength that I need to come into. And I think another thing about that strength in numbers, and that's when you were talking to me about one of those movies where like there were the different witches and they all came together.
Oh,
like
yeah,
4 or 5 different.
Yes. Yeah. The craft. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like we all have our own beliefs. We all are connected to our realm. We all bring something to the table. And that's another thing that those voices of truth within us, like holding on to them and expressing them and standing firm in them, it allows us to have a larger impact because we're bringing that to the table, rather than going like, oh, well, you know, that's not what I got, but you're someone that I really respect. So I'm going to go with what you said. And I'm going to like leave all of my own guidance and intuition and everything that I receive. I'm just going to throw that away and take what you give me.
Oh, it's like the weathercock rune.
Yeah. The vein.
Yeah.
I just watched that, I think yesterday. I was like, ooh, some of those were kind of brutal.
Yeah.
But that was like that
pretty
Eight of
brutal.
Pentacles energy too. It's like not doing what everyone else said. It's finding what works for you. And that's what makes this so, I feel like that's what makes it more possible now than it ever has been, because we are more cooperative. And it's like when you think back, at least through recorded history, whenever different belief systems met, there was a war, there was fighting, there was loss, there was casualties on both sides. And it's this energy where it's like the divine is so vast and incomparable that no one person is going to hold all of it. So if you take your piece and I take my piece and everyone else takes their piece and we meet together, it's like, you know, we complete more of the puzzle and we're able to move the world forward in a way that is more accommodating and suitable for everybody, rather than, you know, for mostly one person and then you got people on the outside. And so that kind of sort of comes out with the lion. The lion was literally on the top of the deck. I pulled from the bottom. No, wait, it was on the bottom because I pulled from the top. LOL. And I was like flipping through the cards. I'm like, okay, where's the lion? And the only card next to it was this Mother of Pentacles. And I feel like this Mother of Pentacles, this to me, it's like the holy and fearsome nature of our inner child / luminous warrior. And that's one of the things that, you know, we were talking about before we hit record as well. And it's allowing that truer inner version of ourselves to be both the child and the adult, to be both the protected and the protector, the nurturer, the provider, the like everything. And another thing that you were saying too was that how when you were saying how like when as you're becoming more, I don't want to say as you're learning to be more fearsome and as you're becoming more holy and as you occupy both, you can be softer.
Yeah,
Because
I'm saying that I've never been more soft, but also more fierce in my entire life. Like this is the softest and the most fierce that I've ever been collectively, like together as one.
yeah. And I feel like that's very much this energy. Because when you know that you're going to stand up for yourself, when you know that you're going to protect yourself, when you know that you're not going to allow something or someone to come in and harm you, then you can be vulnerable, you can be open, you can be all of that, because you know at the end of the day that you're going to be fine. And I think that's a protection that maybe a lot of us didn't really have before. And I think that can also be one of the things that, and again, for me, it goes back to this hangman energy. I think that's one of the things that we could be the most afraid of, or that we can have the most resistance to. Like, if I come forward, if I am powerful, if I do use my voice, like, am I going to be at odds? Is everyone going to come against me? Are they going to respect me? Are they going to listen to me? Because sometimes, and that's one of the things that I don't necessarily appreciate, is that when we exert our boundaries and then someone comes in to try to undermine them anyway, it's like, number one, why would you do that? And number two, like, I guess you want to see the fearsome side of me today, because I'm also going to be holy as I do this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where like Goddess Inanna Ishtar's energy is coming from, because I've always felt her as holy and fearsome, because she has this like Inanna, this softer side to her, but Ishtar is that energy, that aspect of herself that is more so, that is more like aggressive, that is more sexual, that is more out there. And that can scare some people up, that can intimidate other people. Also, that energy, what I realize is the more that I actually step into that more so frequency, it triggers other people. But I feel like that triggering energy, and I think Corey talked about this too when you were talking with Corey, that triggering is triggering, actually, as I'm saying this, it's like you're literally holding up a mirror to someone literally at the bottom of the deck staring at me as I'm saying that. When you're in that energy, when you're in your true when you're in your authenticity, and you're in your holy, your fearsome, your soft, and your fierce side, when your voice of truth is alive, it's going to trigger someone else, because you're holding up a mirror to someone else and they're seeing something within themselves that is ready to rise too. And I've been seeing triggers inside of people, like everyone's saying that they're triggered, they're feeling triggered. It's because their soul is like wanting to be free. Their spirit is wanting to be freed. There's something in there that's like rattling their cage. And it's you that's rattling their cage. It's your energy that's rattling their cage. But you're doing it from a place of holiness. You're doing it from a place of love. You're not doing it for any malicious intent or reason. You're doing it because you're in your authenticity. And that's where change champions come in, and change warriors, because you're influencing this change without authority. You're influencing without saying, like what society, what you were mentioning, that society about, conforming and pulling people and say, you got to fit into this box, you got to do this, you got to do that, that belief is wrong, that is wrong. It's like allowing people to stand in their truth and being accommodating to one another. I love how you said that. And this is like this triggering energy of, if I trigger you, then all that I'm doing is actually showing you, it's just mirroring back to you what is wanting to be freed. And I feel like it's people's voice of truth that is like constant, right? It's constant. Their voice of truth is constant, but it's like, hello, like we want to start talking now too. Do you see this? Do you see them? They're talking, like, let's talk back. Instead of being triggered, instead of reacting, let's heal that aspect and let's start talking back. Because I feel like right now, more than ever before, we're finally learning how to have constructive conversations instead of using, kicking and screaming and swords being volatile and, all that, that gruddy war stuff back in the past. Now we're finally learning how to use our voice of truth and properly communicating with one another. And again, that's where that Ace of Swords is gladiolus, that sword frequency, but it's a sword of flowers. You know what I mean? Like, it's so soft, but it's in the shape of a sword. So it's also holy and fearsome. And so it's like, I feel like now we're properly learning how to constructively discuss things that bother us, constructively discuss things that are, that are issues or that are problems. We need to have conversations that are constructive. We need to educate ourselves. We need to come into our own truth and align to ourselves, heal ourselves, and listen attentively to the other person who is different than you, who has different beliefs than you, who has different a skin color than you, who has different everything than you. But it's about noticing their spirit, also noticing their soul, noticing that they are one with you, that you have a different voice of truth than I do, but we're all here coexisting as one. And that's the strength of power. I learned so much from Patrick, and Patrick learned so much from me, but we each individually have our voice of truth, and we each speak differently. And we each have our individual paths. And I think right now, more than ever, we are constructively communicating with one another. And I honestly, I really hope that this is the path forward in society on problem solving, instead of, going to war and all of the grotesque side of war. We can have healthy debates. We can have healthy conversations and constructive conversations to move past the distortions and the resistances that we have in society.
Yeah, and I think like it's also for us to realize that triggers are going to happen, that it's going to be a part of it, because we do all have different, like we come from a different place, but also we're all coming into this space. And so there's a lot of stuff that we have to unlearn and relearn. And one of my favorite things, again, about the community of people that I found myself in now is that I know that the love is there. So if I get triggered, like I was just talking about it last night. I was like, there was a point in time where every single video you uploaded, like I was triggered. But it was very much so like the parts of me that were like ready to step forward, the parts of me that held my power, the parts of me that were caught in those shadow storms.
Look at top circle.
Hey, right, that's everybody.
And it's number 8.
Oh, I love that.
That's so beautiful.
And that's that infinity that was like popping up everywhere.
Yep.
And like, again, that's that energy of like, we're all a part of the all.
Yep.
And like Source, the creator, was vast enough to split into so many different pieces that are us and to be so completely different. Like how many faces, how many ways, how many shapes and forms, both physical and non-physical, does that energy take? And like, I don't know, to think that there's only like one proper way for it to be expressed, to me, it's a little wild, but that's my belief, right? You have your beliefs and everyone else has theirs. But being in these communities where I know the love is there, it's like, I remember like Amanda from Anamkar Messages, she posted a video one day and I was like, this is a safe triggering space for me. Like I feel safe if I'm triggered here because I know that like you're not trying to tear me down, you're not attacking me. And if I get triggered by something, it's for me to address, it's for me to work through. And me being willing to do that has allowed for even deeper connections and for even more conversation, because like as much as we help each other, if I only told you what you already know and believe, and if you only told me what I already know and believe, where would we be? Like exactly where we started. And so again, that's that energy of like, there's strength in numbers for a reason. And we all hold different beliefs for a reason. We all walk different walks of life for a reason. And that's one thing that, like whenever I come across someone who holds a path that is so different than mine and who does the work, regardless if they do the work or not, but who holds such a different path and who does the work, who's clearing lines and experiences that I've never had, that I may never have, like just you as a woman and me as a man, you're going to have experiences that I'm not going to have. And I can't speak to those in the same way that you can, because again, like I'm not going to have those experiences. And so instead of me telling you what you should do and how you should process what you've gone through and how like you need a heal and all of that, instead of me policing you in a space where you've already been policed,
Mm-hmm.
I can be here, I can hold space, I can listen. And then it's like, you can heal all of that for that part of the collective that experiences that.
Yeah.
And then I can be in a space of showing support for all of the collective that needs to show support for those who go through that. Which is like when you did that live, when you were raw and vulnerable and open, and when you released your 5-year-old self, like to have even Ariel there to like moderate and like step up for you. I feel like that's like beautiful, like feminines helping feminines, but also with me there, it's like masculine supporting the feminines, helping the feminines, masculine helping feminines. And it gets us collectively on a grander scale to that unified point where we can be holy and fearsome within ourselves, and we can be holy and fearsome as a collective of change champions and change warriors and everything else.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna get emotional.
Don't do this.
But that's one of the things that, like, again, I so appreciate, because there are things that I will never know. And because of that, there are things that it's almost like, since I don't have it to clear, since I don't have it to heal, since I don't have it to work through, I can't necessarily do that for the collective. And I think a lot of times we are so energetically connected because we are all pieces of the one. There is a one inside of all of us that, as we heal it for ourselves, we're also healing it for someone else. We're creating those energetic pathways. We're building those bridges. That's in that one card in the Earth Gaia Tarot that came out with the spider webs at the end, at the bottom of it.
Intuition. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it puts it into the field. Now we're uploading these healing codes and uploading these healing frequencies for someone else to download as they come into that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I did like early in my channel, like when I was like pretty in the corner where no one could see me. It's like, I know that like as I talk about this and as I work through it, it has impacts beyond what I can see. And so I'm going to keep doing it. And now I'm here and I got to meet all of you, and I'm so glad. It makes all the work worth it. But yeah, it's so much more interconnected, I think, than we realize. And it does really go back to that energy of like, if you demean or persecute or talk down to someone else, you also in part do that to yourself. And a lot of times when you do trigger people, it's like it's the things that they can't resolve within themselves. It's like when someone asked the question of whether or not they should share their dreams, and you got the no.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that the people who can't live their own dreams are going to fight against you when you try to live yours, because they couldn't do it. They don't necessarily, and we've all been there, this is something that we all do, they don't necessarily go like, well, if they can do it, if they can work through it, then I can too. So maybe I should revisit my dreams, and I should put into my dreams the way that they put into their dreams, so I can have my dreams instead of trying to take someone else's. Because at the end of the day, like, what fulfills you may not fulfill me. If our dreams aren't the same, why am I going to take yours? Like, it's going to do nothing for me. It's going to put me more in this position of wanting to honor my inner truth. Because I think we get pulled further and further and further away, and we may see someone else living their truth or in their moment, and they get happiness, and we want to be happy, so we copy what they do, but what they're doing is for them.
Yeah.
And so it's, then you go like, well, I'm doing everything that they did, why don't I feel what they feel? And it's like, because it's not yours. What you had for you was within your grasp, within your reach. You know what it is. But I think, again, like, there's so much resistance, all of those shadow storms within us, that it's kind of hard to face. And unfortunately, that's just kind of sort of the way it is.
Yeah.
But I think in the energies that we're in right now, there is so much universal and cosmic and energetic support for us to be all of who we are, for us to step into our power, for us to heal and resolve and face those things, that it feels like on an energetic level, it's actually going to be easier. Because that's the shifting story of the collective right now. Like, we finished that chapter where we were warring and fighting and always at each other's throat. We finished that chapter where, like, all of that is done. We're moving into something new. So
Yeah.
take it.
On that note, actually, and I think this is where like the watchful eyes come in. To your point there are so many like astrological and cosmic energies that are also supporting us. This energy here, that is, you know, the circle is not just representative of, you know, humans, you know, us feeling unified and collective together, helping each other out, as you had beautifully just said. This energy is also spirit, the eternal spirit that is always within you, that is within each and every single one of us. And also that is what connects every single one. Do you see how every single handprint is on the eternal line of spirit? We're all connected like that. And so I feel like that's also spirit, when spirit was talking about the watchful eyes in yesterday's mandala, how they're watching and they're protecting us during this, our change and our transformations, and during all of this chaos. They're protecting, they're watching, and they are helping. They're helping less though, because I've been feeling like the training wheels are coming off, like we're receiving less and less confirmations. Like now it's your turn to trust, now it's your turn to take your personal power and get moving. And so this is this get moving frequency, like the arrow actually came out, and the earth, and I'm holding them like this because this is earth and Pachamama, because this feels like a rise. This feel, and Russell was talking about in the yellow electric seed reading that he did for, well, he did it for all signs, the mutatable, the fixed, and the cardinal signs. And I watched my Sagittarius one, and oh my god, like I cried during it. Like it resonated like so much, like it hit me like a hammer. And he said something about like rising from the earth, like this sap, this new energy rising from the earth. And I had a dream that the dragons incinerated me and I fell into ashes, and then I rose from the ashes. So it's almost like this energy of like rising up from the earth, your soul, your energy, your, excuse me, they're correcting me. It's your inner warrior that is rising from beneath the soil, from beneath the earth. It's rising and it's coming forward. And I feel like this is actually reminding me of the Ace of Swords. It's like that's this constant energy that has probably laid dormant here for quite some time. And that's the voice of truth. That's the energy that has now come online and just started to rise forward. And I feel like this is the energy that we have been resisting. This is the momentum. This is the movement that we have been resisting through these shadow storms, because it's hard. It's difficult. Healing isn't pretty. Whoever said this journey was rainbows and unicorns, whoever started that is a liar. You suck. Okay, wherever you are, you suck for saying that, because it's not rainbows, it's not unicorns, it's not flowers and butterflies every day. It's hard. It's hard work, and it's shadowy, it's stormy, but it feels like by setting this inner warrior free, it feels like you're making things lighter and easier for yourself because you're no longer resisting it. You know what I mean? I don't know what else you get from this energy, but
yeah. And like I've been looking at the Moth. The Moth has been at the bottom of the deck this whole time.
Yeah.
And it is that it has the same exact energy of transformation as the butterfly.
Yeah.
But it's not, you know, sunny and pretty and gorgeous. It's the one that comes out at night that no one wants. Yeah. But I think there's something about the Moth though, since it is primarily at night, it's able to find the light. Mm-hmm. There's something about the Moth's ability to find light that I feel like the butterfly, it's not that it wouldn't necessarily not be able to, but it hasn't had to, because that's not the butterfly's experience. That's not the butterfly's primary sort of time of action. The Moth does it at night. And again, it's that energy of, you know, like when you set the expectation for it to be all pretty and like just liberating and you don't have to go through anything bad ever again, when you experience those shadow storms, it makes it like they hit even harder.
Yeah.
because your expectation was for them to not be there. You thought that the worst part of your life happened before your dark night of the soul.
Yeah. And I
And
think
then,
a lot of the resistance because it's not that your expectations are messed up at that point. What you
yeah,
expected is not what it is. So then all this is coming up, right? We go kind of back to the six of emotions. All of this comes back up and you're like, what do I do with this? How do I heal this inner child? What do I do? Oh my God, I forgot about this. When did this happen? Did this happen in this lifetime? Is that a trauma I forgot? Did this happen in the past life? It's just, and no one prepares you. This really feels like it's like no one prepares you for healing. No one does. There's no ABC 1, 2, 3s on healing. There's no 9 steps of shadow work. There's nothing like that. It's all you. It's all you. And it's like, it's this energy of, it feels really unpreparedness. And that this just comes online when you let it, when you're ready. I don't know. I get this like unpreparedness that it just kind of springs up when, like when Russell said, when the energy clears, when that sap starts to run and rise up, it just rises once you feel it, and it feels kind of unprepared. This feels kind of like shocking, unexpected. And that's kind of how I felt. Like I just kind of came into my inner warrior, like it just kind of happened. Like I didn't really prepare for it. I didn't know what it was going to be. I've never been in this experience before. This is a new experience for me. So, and going back to what you were saying earlier, I never stood up for myself. I was always a doormat. You know, people always, you know, walked all over me, and I was the only one apologizing when I didn't even need to apologize. So now I'm like, you know, really stepping into and making my boundaries known and saying F you to some people and really saying no and making myself known and making myself heard, putting my self-worth out there, because I never did that before. But now I'm like counterbalancing that with my holy side so that I can unify the two and I can be holy and fearsome at once. So this feels like it's really rising up in a lot of people in a very shocking and unexpected way, because you've never experienced, it's like your inner warrior has never experienced this world before, because it was underneath the earth, just laying dormant there for quite some time. So now that it's rising up to the surface, now that it's experiencing this world, it's like, well, shit, like, we got to lay down the law right now. So it's just like, it's almost like a child experiencing life for the first time is the best way that I can maybe put that as well.
yeah. And that's the thing about the arrow though. And so like, because sometimes I feel like I go a little too deep maybe, but like when it comes to Sagittarius energy, when it comes to the arrow, all of the preparation is done here.
Right.
This is all of the preparation. This is the only thing the archer can control. And you can account for environmental factors. You can account for the wind. But when that arrow hits you, you know it was prepared. They did the lining up. They found the target all the way back here. And like, as you were talking, I shuffled in the Hawk and the Father of Swords came out. I just went through the watches last night. And every time I've seen the Hawk is the one coming out of the portal. Here's the Hawk. And Hawks are fast. They're fast. But again, this is that inner you. This is the you that you're becoming. And like it's going out there, it's finding you to bring you back to it. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes another thing about the journey is a lot of times we feel all of this. And this is very intimidating, especially when you're still in the position of not yet owning it. You're like, I'm supposed to be all of that? Like what? Like I can't do that. Like I can barely tell the waiter at the restaurant that I want another drink because I'm thirsty. Right. And you're asking me to be what?
Or to return your food if it's like cold or there's a hair in it and you're just like, oh, right. Like I gotta return my food right now.
They're like, how's the food? I'm like, it's great. Thank you. But I think that's like we forget that we become that. It's a step-by-step thing. And even for me, when I was coming into my warrior, I was like, this is hot. like, this is too hot for me. I got too much Pisces in my chart. Like, I don't want to say anything like mean to anybody. And I was like, I missed my water. I missed the water in my chart. There's so much fire and air right now. I don't like it. But with that, for me, like, so my North Node is in Sagittarius and my Chiron is in Leo. So here's 2 fire placements in my chart. One is hidden behind me, aligning to like my soul purpose in a way. The other one is hidden behind me, healing those things that are way outside of my comfort zone to heal. And so as I dedicated myself, as I was like, you know what, the world is in a state right now and I don't want it to be. All I can do is use my voice. And the more I did that, the more I was like, okay, well, here's this. And like I was saying about that aspect that was caught in the shadow storm, I was wanting to come into more service. I was wanting to be able to affect change in my life and the lives of those around me in a positive way. And as I wanted to do that, that aspect came in and there was so much distortion around it. And again, it's like the closer it got, the more I felt it. I went through healing that a few times. I thought I was good. And then it got closer. And I was like, and it's funny because when you did that summer solstice reading, like all of the triggering that happened before that aspect even started coming in, it was related to that.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh, I thought like I cried this out in the live. So I was good. I was like, no, because now you actually got to work. And it's not, I think, like there comes a point where we heal it like in theory, but then we have to put it into practice. Then we have to step up and actually be that person around other people. But that's how my journey was. Like I had like 6 months in my apartment all by myself to work through everything. And then I got a job and I had to work with people. So it was like all of that healing I did solo, now I got to take it out into the world. Now I have to be this. And I think for a lot of people, that can be the hardest part. It's embodying, it's being. And again, it's like you're leading yourself spiritually. You're leading yourself emotionally. You're leading yourself mentally. You got the water, the fire, and the air. Now it's time to be that on earth. Now it's time to do that. Yeah, exactly. Now it's time to allow that to rise and to actually speak it. And you're like, oh, I don't know. But you already did all that preparation before the arrow came in. So
it's interesting that you picked up on that preparation because I was like, I'm like, it's not, it feels unprepared, but it's interesting you picked up on that. That resonates, that makes sense. The energy that feels unprepared is the energy that you were talking about on earth. Now you got to be it on earth. That's the energy that feels unprepared, excuse me, because it's just like it's such a new experience. And as you were talking, it's so funny. We got the 8 of Swords, and that's this energy of like healing away. You're on a cloud, you're suspended, you're far from earth here, you're suspended, you're just like, I'm staying far away, I'm healing, I gotta do what I gotta do. And I don't want people to think of like the 8 of Swords as the traditional restricting energies. I'm just feeling like what you were mentioning of like feeling away from earth, pulling yourself all the way back and just doing the work, kind of like the arrow. You're pulling all the way back. You're pulling yourself away from earth, and you're away healing and doing all of the work away from people. And that's the energy here still with 5 of Earth. It's this energy of not yet coming out, not yet speaking your truth, still feeling really resistant, still feeling not yet there. But there's this energy inside of you. Then you have the Page of Fire. It's like this energy inside of you wanting to rise. It's like this energy that you were talking about with the arrow. You've been preparing. You've been away from earth. You've been preparing yourself all this time. Now it's like this energy wants to rise. It's kind of reminding me of Pachamama, this card, isn't it?
Yeah, the colors are
very similar. That's really interesting. I've never actually got these cards together. It feels like a younger energy though, like a not yet developed energy. And here it is, like developed and in its holy and fearsome energy. So it's like it's coming out little by little. Every experience that you are having in your life, little by little, it's like, because I remember like in my experience after I did my healing, and I was like you, I had to heal things over and over and over again. And I thought I was like done with something, and then it would come back. And I'm like, what the like this? I'm like, is this a joke now? Like, it's like I had these like opportunities though. It feels like little by little, I can draw a line, like draw my boundary. Little by little, I can like say no. And I was doing that. Like I remember when I was like coming out of my healing and I was kind of stepping into my power, kind of not. I was very shy about doing it. Like I was very like nervous. I was very timid about doing it, but I had that fire inside me. And I would be thrown experiences and opportunities where, you know, I could say no, I could stand up for myself. And I did it a little bit here and there, but I didn't embody it fully. You know what I mean? But this feels like a lot of us are getting the opportunities to stand in our power, to stand in our truth, to say no, to lay down the line. So it's like you get these little opportunities to do so. And then here you are, King of Earth. It's like you're claiming yourself here on earth. You're claiming your body, you're claiming your spirit, you're claiming who you are, your inner strength, your inner warrior. You're claiming your inner warrior, and you're really like laying down your laws, your boundaries, and making them firm, making them tangible, making them real. It's like now they're not just suspended in the air. Now they're not just words inside of your head. Now you're actually using them. You're applying them, as you said. You're applying them. And I love that. I think that's so cool how those kind of came out as you were talking. Like, oh, yeah.
So as you were talking about that, it reminded me of Gefin. Oh, sorry. Something just popped up in my screen. And Gefin is that energy of claiming new ground.
Yes.
I remember Rob got this at one point, and it was a story of like they would have like the bulls or the cows go out and sort of go around an area before they would claim it. And we're in the year of the ox this year. So you could say that it's time for us to claim these new grounds. And yeah, I feel like that's what this is, and it is the practice. It is sort of like going around the area. It's that whenever you see someone before they build something, they start marking the space, and you see those,
yeah,
and they start surveying to make sure that the land is level, that they don't have to do anything before they start building the foundation. And Gefin was actually face down because she came out before, and I forgot to flip her up before I shuffled the cards. But she was between Odin and Alfrun. And Alfrun, was watching last night. And it's this energy like, and Alfrun, she symbolizes feminine intellect. And Odin is sort of this masculine energy that recognized the power of feminine intellect, that tried to take the power of feminine intellect and feminine magics, but didn't necessarily respect it. I feel like he would get the information from them, and then he would kind of sort of push them off to the side or discard them because of everything that he was doing for himself. And so it's this energy as well, going back to how the gladioluses grow in a field. We have to take care of everybody. Yeah. If you're selfish and self-centered, and if you're putting that energy out there, that's what everyone else is going to be. Mm-hmm. And I think the one thing I like about the King of Earth in this energy, rather than in its shadow side, the King of Fire, is that I think the King of Fire sometimes can be really focused on his own desires. But I feel like the King of Earth is an energy that knows, if I want my garden to flourish, I have to make sure that this area is good and that area is good, and that my plants aren't competing against each other for limited resources. And it's reminding me with that circle energy, it's reminding me of the nitrogen fixation cycle when it comes to plants. So nitrogen is a gas that some plants need to grow. And so they take it out of the soil. But if those plants have taken all of the nitrogen out of the soil and you try to plant more of those, there's not going to be any nitrogen left for them to grow. And so then you cycle those out with nitrogen fixing plants. Those plants put nitrogen in the soil. So you rotate between the ones that take it out and the ones that put it back in. That's us in plants, right? We breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Plants breathe in carbon dioxide and they breathe out oxygen. We see all of this like symbiotism and all of these mutual beneficial relationships in nature, but then we try to come in and all of our, I kind of want to say human ego a little bit.
Yeah.
And we just take. We take from here, we take from there, we take all over the place. And Gaia is like,
now Gaia is fearsome. Now Gaia is like, no, stop. Yeah.
And when we were in the beginning phase of all that happened last year, we started to see the earth recovering in spots.
Yeah. The ozone layer was getting thicker.
Yeah. And it's that self-cleaning oven energy.
Yeah.
As long as we're not making things worse, things will get better. But even better, we can assist the things in getting better so it gets better quicker. And we can be change warriors and change champions.
Yes.
In so many ways.
and so many different ways. Exactly. There's layers to this, isn't it? A lot of gates. There's like so many layers to these gates. I really love the energy of God Zababa and Goddess Inanna Ishtar here. They're really coming through with this like circle freak. I love it. I love it. Let's shuffle this and let's see what we Okay.
Let's see.
Let's do some magic.
There we go. If I can like keep these on the table. All right.
Ooh. Oh, they said there's a few more.
Okay, I got a card that flipped over. Was that the only one? I thought it was a few. No, I guess that was it.
Ah. All right, what you got?
All right, I got two cards. I got the Elk and the Six of Wands.
Oh,
Hey!
the Father of Pentacles and the Six of Cups with the Six of Pentacles.
That's 3 sixes. And this, but I feel like in this, there's this energy of like all of these antlers that have been shed. And there's some pretty long ones.
Yeah.
There's some pretty long ones, but we're rising above all of that. We're growing new antlers that are more focused on this black sun. Could be you feel what?
I feel like it's more focused to what's natural. Like it goes back to what Goddess Aya was saying about it's not about going backwards in a sense of like, you know, we are backtracking or healing or anything. We're going backwards to go forwards. We have to understand the fundamental resources. We have to understand who we are. We have to understand where we are, and we are on earth. So it's almost like, see the roots here, right? We have to understand. We have to understand earth. We have to understand the sun. We have to understand the core of like what we are made up of, because it's where we are and it's who we are. And it's like, as we get to that understanding, as we grow into that understanding, we become more connected to earth. We become more connected to each other. We become more connected to the sun, to the stars, to the cosmos, because everything, again, this works, we're working our way back. Everything is connected.
And I love that in this card, like, I mean, you can see some of that connected to the fiery sun.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's this energy of like, this is everything. It feels like since that is a sun energy, it's very external. This is what we were seeing. This is what we thought we had to be successful, to make it in life. And it's like, it's this energy where it doesn't necessarily get us that far, because the butterfly is above all of that. But in yours, you can see that when we tap into our roots and all of the richness there, and when we grow from that space, and when we get those horns, we get into the Six of Pentacles, very like mutually beneficial sort of energy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that. You said it perfectly. But that, isn't that a solar eclipse? Isn't that the sun and the moon?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the sun and the moon.
Or that could be, it could be a little bit of Lionsgate. Because I know when the Two of Swords came out, all of that portal frequency that the hawk was flying out of, it was the sun and the moon and the Two of Swords.
Oh, there's a bun.
Bunny.
Oh, hi, bun. Oh, it's a bunny.
She's so cute.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I really like that, how that worked out. We keep coming back. We always do things like full circle lately. It's like how Russ was saying about the runes, right? The runes kind of work their way back. And I find that it's kind of similar with the gates. We always kind of go back to the same message. And I think I was saying this to you earlier, how we're going to go back to gate 1, to gate Inanna Ishtar. And here she is in gate 7. I feel like she's going to come out, and she's going to start coming out again in 8 and in the 8-8 portal. And we're going to talk about, it's like we're working our way back to the beginning, back to the source. Understanding all of that is the key, right, Bun Bun?
Oh, and I think like there's a lot of Goddess Gula here, and like healing ourselves enough to come into all of this. And it's like, it looks rough from the outside. The shadow storm is a lot. But again, like, we have to remember these energies that are coming in and assisting us. And especially like as we come more into who we are, then our own healing energy works with her healing energy, and it breeds that even more. It's like it jumpstarts it. Like that battery. Yeah,
exactly. Like that battery. Plus she actually, I kind of want to pull a card for her, see what she wants to say. But she was coming through in the channelings, as you mentioned, and she works with the earth. She works with the herb. She's a herb healer. She creates life in the land. That's actually one of her many names. So here you have earth. And so it's like, she's also helping Gaia heal too, in a sense, but also breathing life back into us, right? That's what she said after the flood. She helped to breathe life back into humanity. And maybe that's what's helping a lot of us surge forward. It's this like energy that we're also tapping in our own healing, but it's like we're also receiving assistance from spirit. And I feel like that's where Goddess Gula is coming in. We're tapping into our own healing, which in a sense is her healing, and we're surging our energy forward, surging that sap forward, bringing it up to the inner warrior is rising.
And it reminds me again of what that was that gate 6 with Goddess Uras.
Yes.
Right? Yes. With the light things in our cells. My brain is like, our bodies are becoming more light.
Yes. Oh, that was Goddess Aya.
That was Goddess Aya?
Yeah.
And was that in the
It was in the
shifting, or in the mandala?
Yeah, the shifting experiences, the clothing of shifting experiences, where she showed me the light particles in each cell.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's pull one for Goddess Gula. Is Christmas a bun? Do you want to see her? Let's see what What does Gula have to say? Oh, she came through with the 10 of voices. That's that rising energy. Look how this person is literally rising up away from, it's again, it's more of this energy, this dormant frequency is coming up from the earth. All of these energies are rising, all of the distortions are healing, and they're awakening the inner warrior that is within you. 10 of Swords. And I was talking about this a while ago where I said the end is meeting you at the beginning. That's the kind of energy that's coming through here. She's healing and lifting. Remember how I don't know, did I say this here where it's such a big release? Like what we're doing, what we're purging right now is a really big release. But this is where we have the greatest resistance. So it's almost like you need to release that resistance, release the resistance and just allow yourself to go, let it go. Like that groundhog, time to let go. Just let it all go.
Yeah,
and she's assisting with that.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying she's assisting with it.
And that's all of that you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's in this 3 of Swords. But when we can make peace with it, therein lies like our golden egg.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's this energy. It's like the more we make peace with it, it feels like there's an energetic transmutation. That as we release it, it gets purified and then like funneled back into this egg. And then like when you get enough energy, this is the space where that luminous warrior sort of hatches from.
Got the luminous warrior.
Yeah, look at these little lambs. But I feel like these are the lambs where, almost like a horror movie, but not. But like you think that they're like super docile or whatever. But then when you try to step up against them, they defend themselves. Whew, like that's not what I was expecting.
There's the luminous warrior.
Yeah.
Really looks like they would come out of the golden egg, right?
Yeah. Like you can still see it like at his what is that, sacral or solar plexus? Like
Yeah,
that's the golden umbilical cord that comes from the egg.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know the 4 of Swords was actually behind the Moth. And on the third eye of the 4 of Swords, I'll see if I can find it. It has that same golden orb energy that the luminous warrior has at the top of his head. If I can find it real quick.
You know what this is also reminding me of, like a volcano. This looks like a volcano where it releases the steam. So it almost feels like this bottled energy, this bottled resistance of all of these current shadow storms that are taking place within us is reaching a boiling point, reaching a tipping point, and just like everyone is just blowing steam right now. And so like if you're feeling this energy, instead of resisting it, release, surrender to it and let it just take you. Because what it's actually doing is that it's healing. It's healing. 4 of Swords, it's healing. And Goddess Gula, and I feel Goddess Aya here, is also helping to shed and release that energy so that the luminous warrior, your inner strength, can start to rise. That's what's also rising with this energy.
And I remember that volcano energy coming out for Scorpio, I think, in the summer solstice.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that bottlenecking frequency. And it's almost like, it's like if you shake up a can, right?
Yeah.
If you open it up before it gets shaken even more, it's going to be less messy.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And I feel like we also, it's not necessarily about controlling it. Maybe it's more about like channeling it. When we allow for it to come, when we take those opportunities to release, it prevents that sort of like meltdown before, like, when you're over capacity and someone someday just says the wrong thing and you just release everything on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, take these moments and these steps to like slowly release. Because also in that, I feel like when you do it gradually, it gives you the opportunity to learn who you are in that energy, to
Yeah.
learn who the more so of you is, rather than it just being like this all at once, one time. And then you're like, whoa, like, how much of that was enough? How much was too much? Like, what do I take? What do I leave behind? Or this the whole
Yeah.
like, and you know, that's the thing too about coming into this. You're like, was I too much? Was I too harsh? Did I say something that I shouldn't have?
Yeah.
Especially if you used to be a lot more quiet. It's like, oh, like I feel bad.
Yeah. So
But
maybe this is an energy of like learning to gradually release instead of like getting to the 10 of swords and having that like massive release and massive blowout and eruption. So that's interesting. I like that perspective. Yeah.
and it reminds me, I never watched it or read it, but Spider-Man and his first girlfriend, when
Yeah.
she was like falling and he tried to break her fall with, I don't want to get like too grotesque, but the Ten of
Yeah.
Swords is there. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like when he didn't understand the physics of her fall, and so
Mhm.
he tried to catch her and she like, it was too abrupt and her body couldn't handle the sudden
Yeah.
change in physical forces. And so that's when he learned to catch people with his web instead of just like going right in.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's also, there's this energy where like spirit knows us.
Yeah.
And so it's like if they offer you an opportunity in the moment, you can take it,
Mhm.
right? They're going to work with you. They're not going to overload you, even though these are fearsome, like warrior, uh, god and goddess of war energies. I think like it reminds me of like Pallas Athena or Minerva in Greco-Roman mythology, and like she's the goddess of good war. She's the goddess of wars that need to happen in order like to protect boundaries, to protect your kingdom, rather than that Mars Aries energy that's just looking for a fight and doesn't care about, you know, how many lives are lost or whatever. And again, it's that I feel like there's a sacred awareness in knowing when to be fearsome and holy.
Yeah.
And that, again, it's sacred. It is holy to know when to be fearsome and
Yes.
to be fearsome and holy.
Yeah.
It is divine. Because, I mean,
It
look at
is.
nature.
It is divine. Exactly. It's divine. It is.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, Gay said like it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Nailed it. It's a heavy, it's a heavy topic.
Yeah.
They are heavy energies, but I feel like we've been talking about this for some time. Do you know what I mean? Like we've been doing the work, we've been healing, we've been having these experiences, we've been channeling it for quite some time. And now it's just like, now we are embodying this luminous warrior energy. Now we're actually letting our inner warrior rise. Now our inner warrior is having these experiences where the inner warrior can shine and be holy and be fearsome. And that's this new experience that we're all coming into. So really beautiful. Thank you so much, Patrick.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me to do this. It helps me step more into all of my stuff. So
I love it. No, you're phenomenal. Honestly, I really don't think that I could have articulated what needed to be articulated without you, because you had such a beautiful perspective, and channelings and energies come through that were needed. And this is part of the message, like asking for help, working with other people, weaving in their magic into your world, in your reality. That this is what it's all about. I think gods Zababa and goddess Inanna Ishtar and goddess Gula collectively came together and said, get together with Patrick, because it's really about a circle. So on that note, before I cry, thank you, everybody. Please go check out Rio Koruk. Patrick,
thank you.
thank you so much, Patrick.
No problem.
Buddy.
Bye.
Bye.